Welcome to Community Soil Foundation's Land Regeneration video series. My name is Paolo Tantarelli, and today our goal is to share what we've been doing specifically post-fire, looking at land restoration, and empower you all at home to do it yourself. In our first episode, we're going to talk about the critical use of wattles and how they can stabilize hillsides, catch toxins, and stop erosion. So after wildfires, the soil is exposed. And what we want to do is prevent erosion or toxins from entering the creeks. And that's why we're putting in the wattles, because they strain and filter those toxins, which in turn preserves the soil and allows for maximum plant regrowth for the oncoming season. We're looking at a home that has burned on a very steep slope. And here we're using the wattles to catch the toxins as they run off from seasonal rain. Once you have your A-frame constructed, set your flags and found contour, go back with some type of measuring device, either a wheel, roller, or a measuring tape. And once you find the total calculation for the length, then you can start deciding how many wattles you need. If you have identified contour lines that are below a direct burn site, make sure you're setting a secondary wattle in place. Measure both lines to determine how many wattles you'll need. When you're purchasing a wattle, they come in 25-foot lengths. So if you want to get a pallet, you'll get 12 in a pallet, so you'll get 300 feet of wattles per pallet. So determining on how many feet you need for your site, measure that out, and then go ahead and pick up the appropriate amount of wattles. You can either get them in a burlap wrap that's stuffed with straw, and these are biodegradable, or there are plastic mesh that are stuffed with straw. Now they're about a $4 difference. It's more expensive for the burlap, but the burlaps will biodegrade in place. And what I found through my experience is the plastic mesh break apart slowly, and often that they end up getting left in creeks or on hillsides, and a lot of deer, reptiles, birds, all can get stuck in this. And if it's left out over time and the straw slowly will break down, it's hard to find. And so we've often pulled out plastic wattles from the creeks. The burlap membrane of this wattle is much more effective. You can see it, it's the water actually has to go through this entire membrane, screening out the particulates and then letting the water pass through. Also, this is biodegradable. So over time, maintenance on this, especially for erosion control, would be you're coming back, removing the stake, and taking apart this wattle and spreading it out. So it's just a straw that we're just going to spread out into the hillside itself, which makes breakdown really quick. You might be wondering, how do I approach my site and begin thinking about the overall wattle placement? If your site is close to level, go ahead and place a wattle around the entirety of the structure. Some people choose to wrap the entire burn area with wattles. If the slope makes it hard to do so, it's important that you start your wattle 5 feet below the debris from the burn site and at least 15 feet on either side of the debris. When we're talking about slope, 1-to-1 and 2-to-1, as you step out a foot, you're losing 1 foot. That's a 1-to-1 slope. Or if you're stepping out 2 feet and losing 1 foot, that's 2-to-1. Rule of thumb, if it feels steep to walk on, consider that 1-to-1 and put your wattles 10 feet apart. If it feels subtle, you can go with 15 or 20 feet apart, but ideally we want to keep the toxins closer together. So trust your gut and keep things close. When you're going to be installing your wattles, these are the tools that you'll need. One good thing to remember about the wattle is it's not a dam. We're going to want the trench to be about 1/3 of the depth of the wattle. We want to get the soil and shovel it on the uphill slope. And this will just help in general catch some more of those soil particulates as we get that in place. And just lightly bringing that back down into that space is already filling in that distance or any kind of an air gap, or it might even be a gopher hole that we want to fill. So we're catching all the particulates as they're coming down slope. When you're setting your wattle specifically, we recommend a contractor stake to make that pilot hole first to go into the wattle itself. And you're going to be putting the stakes themselves, the wooden stakes, every 4 feet apart throughout your wattle, making sure that you're starting a foot off the edge. Now, when you're getting the stake in, you don't want it to become flush with the wattle. We've had situations where big rain events will come and the wattle will go right down the hill. You want it to be about 3 or 4 inches up from the top of the wattle. Go ahead and overlap the end of each wattle themselves, and you're going to want to set a stake above and below because we really want to make sure that the soil particulates aren't sneaking in from one side to the other. Sometimes you will reach the end of the line and will need to cut the wattle in half. To cut the wattle in half, use a razor blade or scissors, take out the straw, and with a loose burlap, use a piece of twine and tie the end. A few key pointers on maintenance. Be sure to walk the entire length of the wattle installation after any rain. Compact or fill soil above any gopher activity. If the wattle is at capacity with soil or debris, add another wattle. Remember, don't remove the wattle, always add another. I think at the end of the day, when we're doing this work, a lot of folks can be really disoriented from losing their home and the devastation on their land. And I want to reflect from doing this work from the Tubbs fire to the Kincaid fire and now the Glass and the Walbridge fire. And the response from the forest has been amazing. The seed bank that's left here and that will regerminate is completely surprising. But after some of the first rains, you'll be surprised how quickly the vegetation comes up. And that's when we know that the seed bank has restored and the wattles can start being removed, is when we have a full season of letting the hillside stabilize. Thanks everyone for watching this episode on how to properly install a wattle. Hopefully you took away a few gems on proper techniques for the work. And remember to stay tuned for the next episode on how to construct an A-frame. Remember, it's our collective work together post-fire that we will keep our watershed and soil clean.